let's start talking about the secret weapon to breaking free from addiction and emotional eating. And it's actually no secret at all. It's just that it's about consistency and not giving up, and it's about grit and tenacity, which most people lack a lot of, or in certain cases, they might have it in some areas of their lives, but not in others. So for me, I used to have a lot of grit and tenacity when it came to my work, when it came to going to the gym, those kind of things, all the things that were with regards to my health, except for the sugar. I just couldn't ditch that because I was addicted to that. So when it came to eating the right foods, I chose all the right foods that I thought was right at the time. And then I just had all the crap on top. So I kind of used that as an excuse. But that doesn't mean that I lack this characteristic in other areas of my life. So if you have it in some other area of your life, but you not have it when it comes to food, you actually have an advantage because you already practice it in other areas of your life. So you can take that and you can apply it to the food part. If you have a problem with food addiction or emotional eating, chances are that what I'm going to talk about today and what I just said applies to you. And the problem is that we give up. I would say most people make plans. They make plans for how to improve. And some people like to tell others for the accountability part. Then there are people like me. We don't like to tell others. We like to keep it quiet because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be reminded of our failures when we fail. So by not talking about it, I'm actually allowing myself to continue to fail because the only one who will know is me. And then it doesn't matter, although it does. So when you want to give up, let's talk about giving up. What do you do when you want to give up? Because this can look a little bit different for different people. And I've just put like two major categories on the slide here. But most of the time it looks like one of these two things. Either you just abandon the plan that you have already made, or you jump from one thing to the other. And I see both of these when I work with people. Those who just give up and abandon the plan completely, they usually use the past against themselves. So they're not very kind to themselves. They don't trust themselves. So when they decide that they are going to try something, and they might be able to do that for a few days, maybe a bit longer for some people, but they decide to try something and then they do it, let's say, for a few days. And then they feel so bad, like emotionally so bad, or something happens, or they just have these cravings and they can't stand it. They just feel so bad that they just want to go on one more binge just to relieve that pressure that is building up. And I think you probably felt that. I have anyway. So they do. They go and binge, and then all the thoughts about themselves, all the evidence for why they keep failing, for why they are such failures, for why they will never succeed and they will never be able to do it, and it's just too hard. All of these thoughts are being brought up when they do that every single time. So if this is what you are doing, you are most likely feeling as if somehow there is something that is wrong with you, first of all. Something is wrong with you because you can't do it and you think that everyone else can do it. And somehow that you are too weak and there is nothing that you can do about it. And it just makes you feel very powerless. It's probably the best word. So if that's you, then you're probably in the first category. But what I want to tell you is that you're wrong. You can do it. If you don't give up, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, but first I want to talk about the other girl. But if you don't give up, there is no way that you're going to fail. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're just human. You have a human brain and it reacts the way that human brains always react. So if you are someone who jumps from one solution to the next one, I love these people. But for me as a coach, I find this type of people the harder to work with, because they are always looking for the next thing and they don't stay focused on what they should be doing to actually get some results. And I see more and more people do that. But anyhow, so let's say, if you are constantly watching YouTube videos and you get new advice for what to do several times per week and you want to try them all out, and what you really do is that you don't try anything out. You don't try anything properly, because each of the things that you want to try to solve your problem, you only try it for a few days, or you try it kind of half-assed, or you try it with something else. And you just you keep your attention on those things for a few days, maybe if you're lucky. If this is what you do, you just need to stop it. This is a completely different way than the first group plan was talking about. This is your way of avoiding trying anything, actually. You just throw it out there and you do this and you're fooling yourself. So you're fooling yourself by finding all these potential solutions to your problem. The problem with it is that you don't give any of them a chance. But what you do is that you're like, yeah, I found this thing, I've tried it, it didn't work. And then what? You're ticking the box and you say, okay, I've tried all of these things, nothing is working for me. When in reality, you actually didn't give them a chance to work because you did it for a few days, or you didn't try that one thing and focused on it because you were doing 10 things at once. And you'd probably, this is such a common thing. A lot of people, they hear about, okay, this is the best diet on earth. This is really working. Someone has worked out this magic diet and you want to try it. And then you hear someone else talk about something. And then you want to throw a little bit of that in and a little bit of that in. And all of a sudden you have this mix of 5 different things. So even if you're trying this out, you're not trying that thing out that someone has tested and verified that it's working, because you just created your own thing, because you think that even before you try it, you need to improve it. So you're not actually trying it. That's what a lot of people do when they're trying to quit. They just take advice from 10 different sources and they try to mix it and they try to do all of it at once, and it won't work because you're not focused on what you should be doing. So now you can tick off your list, I've tried all of these things, and you can with a clean conscience just say that nothing is working for me. And no matter what that looks like for you, your problem is that you are probably giving up. Either by openly giving up and saying, being the victim and saying that, oh, nothing is working for me, or you're busy just looking for new solutions. And you give it 5 days, maybe. And then, oh, that person couldn't help me, or that thing couldn't help me, or whatever it might be. The thing is that the first group, if you just give up, that feels very disempowering. It feels very kind of depressive. When you have no power over your life, when you can't decide or get things to happen, just like, okay, I'm a victim to the world, I'm a victim to the circumstances, nothing is happening, I can't change anything. That's a very bad place to be. But when you're keeping yourself busy, when you're looking for solutions that you don't even try, I should say, then your brain is like, it thinks that it's doing something, even though you don't give it a chance to work. And keeping busy actually feels a lot better than giving up. So I hope this makes sense. I don't want to confuse you, but I want to stress how important it is, because when you think that you're doing things, you're not even acknowledging that you are the one who's sabotaging it. You think that you can find this one solution that is going to help you. You just need to keep looking. And then you think that you have tried all the things and it didn't work, when in reality, you didn't actually give it a chance to work. That's a worse place to be. It feels better, but it's worse in terms of actually recovery. The question is, what do you need to do to cultivate that grit or tenacity or whatever you want to call it? What do you need to do that? So first of all, you need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. Because if you don't know what it is that you're trying to achieve, you have nowhere to move closer to. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in the next training. But let's say that you want to achieve, you never want to crave carbs again. That's your goal. Right now, it doesn't really matter if you believe that this is possible or not. We know that there are people in the world who don't crave carbs. So it is possible for a human being to not crave carbs. Maybe you don't think that is going to be possible for you. This can still be your dream outcome. So let's call this your dream outcome. You never want to crave carbs again. That's your dream outcome. And then you want to set up goals to ensure that you get there. And those goals, we want to use SMART goals. You might have heard about SMART goals before. And usually they use those in like at work, in corporate jobs. But you can use these as well. So you might have heard about these. It just means that they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, relevant, and time-based. I'm going to give you an example of this so that you know how to apply it in this area of your life. And this is actually a really good way of setting goals, I would say, because no matter what area of your life that you are trying to change or improve, you can use these to stay motivated and to see your progress. Because when we don't see the progress, it's hard to stay motivated. That's part of the problem. So I'm going to give you an example, and you can, if you want to, you can steal this one for yourself. This is something that I do with my clients. And this is something that I'm going to start bringing in even more in my group program, Radical Food Freedom, because I believe it's really important to have these SMART goals, even if we don't really talk about SMART goals, but so that you can see the progress, even when you don't feel it. Because the number one thing that will get people demotivated, I should say, is like, first you do something, you're motivated, you go all in, and then you don't immediately see the progress. I know that there is progress behind the scenes, but you don't see them in terms of the results that you want, in terms of, I never want to crave carbs again. You don't see the results in the beginning. So it's important that we have another way of measuring this. So the specific goal is to feel cravings and urges without trying to change them. And I think a lot of people have problems with this. I say it over and over again, and still people want to get rid of the cravings and urges. They're not prepared to just feel them. So the specific goal needs to be that you are okay with just feeling them without trying to change them. Then we measure it. We want to measure it because I know that if you have enough repetitions under your belt, you're going to be successful. Then it's going to be automatic. And most of the time, you're not going to crave the carbs. I'm not going to say never, because it probably will happen. It's still programmed into your brain. You still have a neural pathway for it, so it can still happen. But most of the time, it won't. So we measure that by aiming for having 100 allowed cravings. If you practice 100 times, you're probably going to have a lot of them being done in the way that you want them to be done. So we count repetitions. And then it's achievable because it doesn't take very long. You only have to do this on average 3 times per day for a month. And it might take you 5 minutes per day. It doesn't take that long. And if you're busy one day, then it doesn't take that long to catch up. You can just catch up tomorrow. If I just had one craving today and I'm off tomorrow, I can easily catch up. It just takes you a few more minutes. It's not like it builds up and all of a sudden you have hours of work to do. It doesn't work that way. So it's very achievable. And it's also very relevant because once you know how to do this and you started doing it, it's going to happen automatically. And then, as I said, you're not going to react to your cravings because you're not even going to have them. You are going to have them, but you're not even going to notice because now it's on autopilot. So all the triggers are going to be there. The emotions might come up and you automatically just like feel it through and you don't even react to it anymore. And time-based, we do it for a month. Sometimes with some clients, we do it slower. Sometimes we do it quicker, but that's roughly what we do. And then you got the hardest part out of the way. And then we can start building your life from there. So that's the thing, that if you commit to your SMART goal, let's say for 30 days, it should take you closer to the thing that you want to achieve, your dream goal or your dream outcome. If it doesn't, it's not the right goal to set. So you just need to check that if I do this for 30 days or however long you want to set it to, is that going to take me closer to my goal? If the answer is yes, then that is a really good SMART goal to have. And many of you might have come this far in the past and you might have set some goals and done the things or started doing the things, but then you stop And that's what we as humans do. So let's talk about the actual biggest difficulty that we as humans have, and that is just to like keep at it. We want to stop anything because we don't get that immediate gratification that you get from eating cake. So we want to build the tenacity and the grit, whichever word you prefer. I have broken this down into 4 steps. And I'm not saying that it couldn't be other steps or whatever, but I think these 4 steps, if you keep track of those and you do that, you're going to be in pretty good shape. So the first thing that you need to do is just to create a plan for your dream outcome. That's kind of like, where do I want to go? Then you have to figure out what you need to do, and you have to start implementing those habits, which is the SMART goals. And you do them one at a time. So this is about the focus. You don't want to try to do 10 things at once, which most people, especially if you type A, they want to do all the things at once because they want to get to the goal faster, but that's going to just lead to disaster. You're not going to get to the goals if you try to do all the things at once. So you want to just take one of them, learn that skill first, get that to be a new habit, and then after, let's say, 30 days, however long you're going to do it, then you pick another one, and then you add the second one. So we don't want to try to do 5 of those things at once, because that is going to be too much for your brain to change at once. We want to be successful at changing one thing at a time, because that way you know that it's going to be sustainable. Then you need to design a life that you love. And with this, I mean, we're going to look a little bit at this in the next training as well, but this is part of the dream outcome as well. If you could design a life that you love, what would that look like? So if you allowed yourself to dream and think, okay, if I remove the cravings, if I don't engage in this behavior anymore, I don't eat all of these things, what could my life look like? And not just what could it look like, what do I want it to look like? There's a slight difference there. Because if you go to the dream, well, this is actually something that I would really love. Then you open up for yourself to start thinking about possibly actually taking steps towards it. Maybe, just maybe, it's actually possible. And then the last one isn't strictly necessary for everyone, but I believe that it helps a lot. And it's something that is going to make this so much easier and so much more doable. And it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. So I'm going to talk about the right people, because there's a downside to this as well. So if you surround yourself with the right people, those are supposed to be people who understand you and people who are either doing what you're doing or have already succeeded at doing what you're doing. Your husband, your sister, your neighbor, whatever, they might be super supportive of what you're doing, and they kind of cheering you on, and they're just loving you to death. But unless they are addicted to food as well, they won't really understand what you're going through, no matter how supportive they are. It's easy to feel like you're very alone, despite having all of these people just throwing love at you, because they love you, but they don't understand what you're going through. Completely different issues. And then that might also bring up some guilt, because you're like, I'm so ungrateful because they here to support me and I can't feel it. So those are not the right people. You want them to, if you have them, absolutely. But they are not going to help you stay the path, usually. So that's why I wanted to add this 4th point. When you surround yourself with people who are striving to achieve the same thing as you, it normalizes what you're going through. And it makes it a lot easier for you to accept that this is just how it is, rather than fighting against it and wanted it to be gone and feeling like it's so unfair and it's just me who's going through this. You want to be able to feel like, okay, this is just something that some people are going through and it's completely normal. And when other people are going through the same thing as you, just knowing that there are other people doing the same thing, having the same struggles, and having some success in the same area can feel very motivating. And when they succeed, it will grow your confidence that you can succeed. It will just make you see that this is actually possible because they just did it. 2 weeks ago, they were moaning about not being able to not eat cake, and then they went to Auntie Grace's, I don't know, birthday party, and they didn't have cake. Like, oh my God, they could do it. Maybe I can do it. It just plants those seeds in your mind and make it look like, okay, it's not such a big deal. And this is really hard to do on your own when you feel like no one else has this problem. And so I'm going to tell you a very quick story. This might sound very arrogant of me, and I probably was, but when I was about 19 or maybe 20, I took a course to become an aerobics instructor. And the reason that I did that was because one day at the gym where I was going, my favorite aerobics instructor, she was off sick or whatever, and she had a substitution teacher, and she was really bad in my opinion. I'm like, oh my God, she's a train wreck. This is not working. She's crap. I mean, I loved doing aerobics and I was convinced that I could have taken over that class and done a better job than her on the spot without any education. I probably wouldn't, but the thought was in my head. And I decided on the spot, like, I love aerobics. I want to teach aerobics. And I can, if she can get employed as an instructor, I can get employed as an instructor. So that's what I did. I went home, I researched where can I sign up for it, and I went to sign up to become an instructor straight away. So if she could be paid to do that, I definitely could be paid to do it. Now I had no doubt that I was not good enough. And before, it hadn't even entered my mind, because I was kind of looking up to these aerobics instructors. I was like, oh my God, they're amazing. How can they do this? And all of a sudden, I'm like, what the heck? You don't actually have to be that amazing. You can still get a job. So I did it. And I'm not saying that you need to surround yourself with people who have, you have no confidence in, but just knowing that other people are going through the same thing. So if they can stay the course and if they can stay focused on this, so can you. What's possible for them is also possible for you. Okay? So those are the right people. Now, the downside, I just want to mention the downside as well. So I've seen this sometimes. If you hook up with a bunch of people or just one person, but let's say it's a bunch of people, you're just like, oh, we all want to quit and we're going to do this. And the people are not right, then they're going to be like failing. Maybe they don't show up to the meetings, or they're just sitting there whining and being very powerless. And then you just get all of that thrown in your face. It's just more reinforcement and more proof how hard this process is, how impossible it is to do it. And all of a sudden you're like, well, they can't do it. Of course, I can't do it. So these are not the right people. You want to surround yourself with people who are motivated, ready to go, and who are doing the work. If not, you're actually better off not even talking to them. Because if one person gets into this spin of being in victim mode and it affects the whole group, you are in trouble, and you don't want to do that to yourself unless you're very mentally strong. So when you do all of these things, before you have even achieved them, like the 4 things that I just listed, you create a plan, you implement the habits, you design the life that you love, and then you surround yourself with the right people. When you do all of those things, even before you have achieved your dream goal of not having carb cravings anymore, you're going to start feeling better. And usually, if you think about why you want to not have cravings anymore, it's probably because you want to feel better, because you feel pretty shitty to have those cravings. And then when you have them, you're going to have to eat all of the crap that you don't want to eat, and that's just making you feel bad. When you start believing in the process, this process is what I need, this will make it happen for me, and you're working on your SMART goals, and you see the evidence in other people and in yourself, but it's usually actually a lot easier to see those goals, or the goal, to see the success that other people are having than seeing the success that you are having. That's why you share it with other people, to inspire them so that they can achieve more, and then that motivation will come back to you. So you're pretty much surrounding yourself with collective progress, which is really nice. And it's so much easier to see because we are usually really, really hard on ourselves. And it's so much easier to bring compassion and empathy and feeling happy for other people when they succeed. But when you do that, you will start believing in yourself as well. And you will start seeing that there's a different future for you. So this makes the whole process so much more fun and easy. And you might even allow yourself to get excited about doing it. I'm not saying that you will, but it can be quite exciting to actually work on something that is really hard, because when you see the payoff that you get, that is exciting. And at this point, because you are feeling really good about where you are and the people you surround yourself and the work that you're doing, and you know that you are in control, that dream of yours is actually within reach. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that you haven't reached it yet, because now it's fun and it feels exciting and you feel powerful when you're working towards it. Then it doesn't matter if it takes another month or if it takes another year, because you know already, like, if I continue doing this, I will get there. And you know that if you're consistent with it, you're going to get there quicker. That is what you need to develop. You need to develop that tenacity, that grit to continue going. And it's so much easier when it feels good to do that, rather than when you're using the whip and you're just trying to get yourself to do it, when it feels really good. So I'm going to recap this one more time. I put this up on the slide again, just so that you know what we're talking about. So the plan, you create the plan, and the plan is to achieve your dream outcome, okay? Then you implement the plan via those SMART goals. And those can be, it could be 3, it could be 15. I don't know. That's what you have to work out. And then you design a life that you love. So when I say that, you actively focus on what you want that dream life to be like, and how you want to feel it when you are there. The person that you want to be. Those are the things that you focus on there. And then you just surround yourself with the right people. And I've talked about that extensively, because that just makes the process so much more fun, and it's going to make the process a lot shorter as well. So this is what you need to do. Do these 4 steps. It's going to help you a lot. And now we can take the questions. So next Sunday, I think it's at 2:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to do like a workshop sort of training. So you have to come on Zoom with me, and we go through all of the 3 trainings that I've done prior. And we start making a plan for how you can actually implement all of this information that you got into your life. So you listen today, you take what I already said, you try to use it yourself, and then you come to the training on Sunday. It will be recorded as well, but you need to sign up to get that, even if you want the replay. You will get access to the replay if you sign up. So with that said, I'll see you guys in 2 days. Bring your questions if you have any more questions, and we'll start working on that motivation and what you need to do to cultivate that and get really good at that.